You're watching WHO TV 13 Des Moines, your 24-hour news source. This is Newscenter 13 at 10.
Firefighters from all over the metro battling an Urbandale fire for more than 3 hours this morning. And the DCI searching for clues tonight in the suspicious death of an Ames man. Good evening. Thanks for joining us. We'll have more on the Urbandale fire in just a few minutes, but our top story tonight comes from Ames, where state investigators are getting a workout.
Another suspicious death is being investigated as a homicide. This one, as you said, happened at Ames. The police called in the DCI this afternoon to go over the crime scene where the body of a 58-year-old man was found. Police say it looks like foul play. The body was found in one of the apartments in this Ames house. 58-year-old James Morris was in a pool of blood. Police say they believe he's been dead for a couple of days, but they don't think it was a natural death.
There's quite a bit of blood, and the initial report from Dr. Powers was that there appeared that he'd been hit fairly severely around the head. That whether that was from falling or from being beaten, we don't know yet.
Morris was found by police. They were called to check on him by some friends who hadn't seen or heard from him for a while.
So he lived alone, and some friends finally got a little curious about him late this morning and came over and found him. He is a loner, so it wasn't unusual for not to be seen for a few days.
And talking to the Story County medical examiner tonight, he says it does look as though Morris's head wounds were from a beating. They will know much more when the autopsy is complete.
And the autopsy on a woman found dead in Fort Dodge over the weekend shows she died of acute alcohol poisoning. That's the word tonight from State Medical Examiner Tom Bennett. DCI agents were called in to investigate the death of 20-year-old Amber Young, found dead in the basement of yesterday's lounge. Her body was discovered at the foot of the stairs around 9:30 yesterday morning. Young was working at yesterday's lounge as a waitress. Dr. Tom Bennett says her blood alcohol level was 0.5, that is 5 times over the legal limit.
Amber Young and James Morris are just two in a long line of autopsies Dr. Bennett has been flooded with over the past month. The State Medical Examiner's office is so swamped, he says there's no way they can keep up. Bennett works out of a Sioux City lab, but he had his 4 assistants have to cover the entire state. He says the past month has been incredibly busy.
At least 8, if not 10 homicides discovered this month. That's a lot for a state in which we only average 50 to maybe 60 at the top per year.
Bennett says more funding of his office and the DCI will have to be discussed. He just hopes they can get the workload under control before a case gets mishandled.
Des Moines police tonight looking for a 3-year-old girl who may have been abducted this afternoon. The manager of the Woodland Place Apartments on 15th Street told police she saw a tall black man playing with a young blonde girl in the apartment's laundry room. She says the man slugged her and then ran out with the girl. Police have been questioning neighbors in the area in hopes of finding out who the little girl is, but so far there have been no reports of missing children. The little girl has blonde hair and was wearing a white T-shirt and blue jeans at the time. If you have any information about this little girl, please contact Des Moines Police at 283-4824. A popular Urbandale restaurant has been destroyed by fire. Helen and Pat's was one of 4 businesses that went up in flames early today. Newscenter 13's Mary Mills tells us it took firefighters hours to bring the blaze under control. TV 13 News Hawk Jane Smeltzer of Johnston caught the flames on tape.
An Urbandale retail complex just north of 70th and Douglas engulfed in flames. Jane Smeltzer, the wife of a Johnston firefighter, captured this dramatic video as her husband helped battle the blaze. The fire, which broke out around 5 a.m., destroyed Helen and Pat's restaurant and the Old Market limousine service. Owner Chris Lavia was among those watching as investigators sifted through the rubble.
The restaurant is a total loss, pretty much a total loss. If it's not lost by fire, it's lost by water and smoke. And the limousine business, or limousine part of the building, obviously, is totally gone.
Timmery's Hair Salon and the Urbandale Tavern were also heavily damaged. The Urbandale Auto Body Service was the only business untouched. It was Urbandale Fire Chief Gary Teeter who spotted the blaze as he returned from another emergency call. Teeter says it took 3 hours and help from several outlying communities to contain the blaze.
We had flames 40, 50 feet in the air, and it took everything that we had to be able to get the thing knocked down the way it is now.
At this point, the cause of the fire is still unknown, but it's thought to have started in the middle of what used to be the old market limousine service. Peter says damage is expected to run upwards of $750,000. The owner of the complex, Arnie Lambert, tells us he's not sure what he'll do. He's not sure how much of it can be salvaged. In Urbandale, Mary Mills, Newscenter 13.
By the way, that building was built in 1948 and used to house the Urbandale skating rink.
People across the globe are celebrating Terry Anderson's 44th birthday. The Iowa native is spending his 7th birthday as a Western hostage in Lebanon. Beirut Television today played a videotape of the 6-year-old daughter named Salome Anderson. She has never seen her father. She was seen blowing out birthday candles with her mother, Madeline. In Kentucky, 2 of Anderson's sisters attended a special church service in their brother's honor. His sister Peggy Say thinks her brother will be freed before Christmas. Secretary of State James Baker says a tough task lies ahead for the Arab-Israeli talks at the Middle East Peace Conference, and he says we shouldn't get our hopes up. Preparations are underway in Madrid, Spain, the site for this historic conference. Security is a top priority considering the long-standing hatred between the Arabs and Israelis. President George Bush and Soviet President Mikhail Gorbachev will be delivering the opening speeches.
A week has now passed since a devastating fire swept through the hills of Oakland, California. Today, people mourned and celebrated at religious services. At Oakland's Montclair Presbyterian Church, worshipers remembered the fire's victims and expressed thanks that the fire didn't spread further. Families whose homes were destroyed or damaged by the fire embraced in a demonstration of mutual support. Christo's umbrellas are being closed. The environmental artist is ordering the shutdown of his U.S. display after one of the umbrellas was uprooted by high winds and crushed a woman spectator to death yesterday. A young child was also injured. And heavy rain continues to fall over much of North Texas, where floodwaters caused extensive damage over the weekend. The storms produced winds up to 60 miles per hour. The same system dumped 10 inches of rain in parts of Oklahoma. Our weather picture, not much to brag about, but from what you saw in Texas, it could be a lot worse. Let's go to the Weather Center. Forecast with Jerry.
Yeah, how about 6 inches of snow and freezing rain changing to snow? That isn't Iowa's picture, at least for this evening, but it is out over the panhandle of Nebraska, portions of western Dakotas. Tonight, we'll see mostly fog and drizzle. Few showers are possible, low tonight near 53. Tomorrow, a better chance of periods of rain, showers, storms continuing tomorrow night. A high tomorrow, 66. We'll have a complete forecast for you coming up in a few minutes.
All right, thanks a lot, Jerry. After a week of lotto craziness in Florida, the jackpot was finally won. Last night, there were 6 winning tickets. Before the drawing last night, thousands of tickets were being sold every minute. One man bought $80,000 in hopes of winning. The jackpot turned out to be $88.2 million instead of the estimated $94 million. The 6 winners will still receive nearly $15 million each over the next 20 years, and you just can't sneeze at that.
Hardly worth winning, though, right? $15 million. Still to come tonight, Mothers Against Drunk Drivers making a donation to help victims go on with their lives. So it's fun.
And the Secretary of Education is in Des Moines, but he's not getting a warm welcome from these people. We'll tell you why. Stay with us.
Be a part of the Newscenter 13 team. Call our News Hawk hotline at 282-TV13 if you see news happen or capture an event on videotape.
Test results have turned out negative on 4 young boys who authorities feared may have contracted the AIDS virus. The tests were conducted after authorities in the Quad Cities discovered the boys playing with dirty hypodermic needles this past week. Those needles came from a dumpster behind the United Medical Center in Moines. A spokesman for the center says the needles were supposed to be burned with other hospital waste. Steps have been taken to make sure a similar incident doesn't happen again.
Mothers Against Drunk Driving helped with a grand opening today of On With Life. On With Life is this new facility in Ankeny. It's for rehabilitation of people with head injuries. At the open house today, they said it's estimated there are 1,000 severe and profound head injuries each year in Iowa, and survivors of such head injuries require a lifetime of care.
The nation's top education official says Iowa's education system is an example for the rest of the nation to follow. Education Secretary Lamar Alexander was in Des Moines for a summit meeting with school board members, teachers, and citizens from all across the state. He says Iowa is leading the rest of the country in implementing President Bush's America 2000 education plan. And he also said the individual states shouldn't rely on Uncle Sam to come up with additional money to pay for the changes.
Most of the argument in Washington, even among those who are the most intervention-minded on the part of the federal government is between whether the federal government ought to spend 6% or 8% of the total cost of elementary and secondary education. So while the money will increase, I don't see the responsibility shifting from here to there, nor do I think it should.
Today's summit was the first of many Alexander will attend around the country over the next several months. Late-on state workers used the Secretary's visit to once again protest the governor's budget cuts that cost them their jobs. Close to 75 of them carried signs outside of the Marriott Hotel calling on the governor to put laid-off workers back on the job.
The controversy over funding for urban greens is on the agenda for the Des Moines City Council tomorrow.